All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's ServeManager Pro Series. This is Trent Carlisle, CTO and co-founder of ServeNow and ServeManager. It's been a while since we had our last Pro Series. We don't do these very often, but when we do, it's because we have some major feature releases that we feel can have a significant impact on your business and job workflow. There's about 80 ServeManager customers that are registered for the Pro Series today, which is a great turnout. And today we'll be talking about custom documents and custom job fields. These features are more behind the scenes and are still somewhat in their infancy, but we're already helping a number of our clients save time and create efficiencies with them. I'll talk a little bit more about what these features mean in a moment, but we'll move on to our agenda for the webinar today. And it is as follows. Jose, our support manager, will be showing example uses of custom docs and custom fields. That'll probably last for about 20 minutes or so. And feel free to ask questions along the way using the GoToWebinar questions widget, which you should see in the go-to pop-up that you have there on your screen. We'll also be touching on some other features that have been recently released, more specifically the mass printing of affidavits. Jose will show you how to utilize that feature. We thought that would be it'd be a good use of our time to talk about that in this webinar. At the end, there will be a Q&A session with the product team, which we will address anything or any questions you have about ServeManager, and we'll stay on and answer those questions up until about 5 p.m. our time. So total runtime for the webinar today shouldn't be much more than an hour. Also, in addition to Jose, on with me today are Jeremy Church, who is our lead user interface developer, and Nathan Benish, who is one of the senior developers on the ServeManager product. This webinar is also being recorded and will be posted on the ServeManager blog by tomorrow this time. Everyone who's attending this webinar should also be receiving an email tomorrow with the link to the recorded session on our blog. So custom fields, what does that mean exactly? So when we talk about custom fields, we're talking about fields that are added to your new job form. So when you click new job to create a new process serving job, we have the ability to add some additional fields to that form. And that mainly applies right now to data that you want showing up on affidavits or any custom documents that we've built for you. So there's not a whole lot of logic behind these custom fields at this point, and there's really, I mean, the only area that you're going to see these custom fields today is in the new job form, but down the road we'll have some probably some more logic and the ability to add fields in other areas like attempts and things of that nature. But right now it's on the new job form, and it's really for display purposes only, meaning I want to show a certain set of data on my affidavit or a specific affidavit. We can create those fields in the job setup there. Custom fields could also support different job types if you do things other than process service. An example of that is we have a lot of clients in California who do photocopy or record retrieval is another term, and we are currently working with a couple of those clients to support their ability to manage photocopy jobs inside ServeManager. Custom docs. When we're talking about custom docs, the things that can currently be done are the things that be on the screen. So with affidavits, we can make global changes to your current affidavits in ServeManager. basically, if you're having to spend a lot of time in the advanced edit mode when you're generating your affidavits, we should talk to you about setting up a custom affidavit for you. We can create variations of affidavits, and Jose in a little bit will touch on the difference between what a custom affidavit is versus advanced edit. But again, if you're spending a lot of time in advanced edit, editing the majority of your affidavits in the very same way every time you're trying to close out a job or generate an affidavit, you should be talking to us about customizing an affidavit for you. There are some, we can also support global changes to field sheets and potentially custom field sheets. We can create new documents potentially. I had mentioned the photocopy/record retrieval earlier. This is the customization of customization of documents also could be applied to send away packets, or even a cover letter that you might want. Basically, if you have a need for a custom document or the generation of a document that is outside the realm of an affidavit, you should talk to us as well. And beyond that, there's also the ability to generate invoices. One second, please. Sorry about that. So in a moment, I'm going to turn this over to Jose, who will kind of walk you through these things and give you some more specific visual examples. But give us a moment here to get set up, and I'll transfer it over to Jose, and we will walk you through the possibilities that are associated with custom fields and custom documents. So Jose, whenever you're ready, I will hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Trent. So we're going to go ahead and get a little bit more in depth over the agenda items that Trent already kind of went through here. I'm going to show you some examples, hopefully, of just about everything. Like he said, if you do have any questions along the way, by all means, go ahead and type them out. We'll make sure to get you an answer either through the webinar here itself, or maybe we'll follow up with you if it's a little bit more individual for you. So I'm just going to put myself here in ServeManager. You should see my account here. Just to kind of reiterate what Trent's already talked about a bit. As far as custom fields go, they're not super smart right now. They're still kind of toward the beginning of this whole project. The basic use for them right now is the idea that you might have something that you know at the beginning of a job cycle. So you might have some additional data that you want to include within a job, whether it be for reference later on so that you can go back into that job and you'll have that information available to you should you need to rely on it later. Or you might want to include that information on some sort of document you're going to generate, whether that be an affidavit, some sort of letter, or some sort of authorization request, that type of thing, or even your field sheets, just some information that you want to include on a printed document later on that we might not already have a field for. That's kind of what the custom fields are for right now. There's not smarts like our companies and our courts. You save that information, you can use it again later on pretty quickly. It's not going to do anything quite like that for you, at least not yet. We're still kind of working on where that's going to end up going. But the main use is just to save the info for you so that you can call back on it later to go ahead and help you fill in a document or just store it for you. The idea for custom documents in general here, one of the big uses for our average user is going to be someone who uses advanced edit a lot. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to open up a document and show you that here. So here's just a pretty much empty job. I'm just going to add an affidavit here. If you haven't already seen this feature, we added it a while ago. On the affidavit screen, there's this button right here that says Advanced Edits. Should you click this option right here, what it's going to do is make the entire document editable. Normally, it's only the sections that are in blue on a document that you can edit, but with Advanced Edit, should you need to change something like plaintiff petitioner here, for example, normally you can't make any changes to that title. This is a case use for advanced edit. So if you wanted to take out plaintiff or petitioner, or you wanted to just change the title completely, here's your opportunity to do that. With customizable documents, we can modify them for you. So, if you find yourself going into all of your jobs and time again you're making this same little change each time, that's a prime use for us making edits to your individual documents so that you can go ahead and not have to spend your time doing that each time. That's going to save you a little bit of time on each one of your jobs, but that little bit of time adds up quite a bit. If you're doing a good number of jobs, you're going to save yourself quite a bit of time in the long run just by preventing yourself from having to make that change each time. I'm going to show you a few examples now of things that you might want to get customized in your account, the type of things that we can make available to you. These are just going to be some general use examples. Like Trent mentioned, we do have some users already that already have some customizations in their account. So we've kind of compiled a few of those that are good examples for you to kind of see what we can do for you. So I'm still just within this same job here. I'm just going to open up my field sheets. I've made some changes to my field sheet that you might not already have. This is a fairly frequent one that does get requested from time to time. As you can see, it's pretty much the exact same as normal. It's got all of my case info up top. It's got my blank rows down below so I can track my service attempts, enter my details for the recipient and so forth. But the prime difference here is if I scroll a little further down, it's just a signature line. It's a fairly simple change to your document, but it is pretty frequently requested. So this is the kind of simple thing that we could do for you, at no cost essentially. Minor modifications like this are what we're going to be able to offer for you on an individual account basis at no additional setup fee, basically. All right, so let's go ahead and close that. This is mostly going to be a lot of examples. Since this is something that we're doing on our end for you, there's not a whole lot of how-to to show you. It's mostly just going to show you the kind of things that we can provide for you. Now let's go ahead and go back to my job screen, and I'm going to open up, this job right here. You can see I've duplicated the same job a few times. This one, though, has a service attempt. If I just open it up, this service attempt was made earlier today, and I did include GPS coordinates on this particular attempt. So if I go back to my job and click New Affidavit again, it's going to be basically the same affidavit we've already seen. But in this account, I've created a few templates, and I'm going to show you one of them here. Scrolling up to the top, when you have a custom document, there's going to be a section up top for you called My Templates. In this section, this is where you're going to find anything that we've modified for you or anything that we've created from scratch for you. I'm just going to choose the top one here, just this generic affidavit here. All right, and that looks pretty much the same. It's the same basic layout, but with one important key difference here that was added. If you look under the recipient name address, it's got the recipient name, where they were served, but what I've added to that is the actual coordinates from that GPS attempt to the document itself. So if you'd prefer, to have that available so that when your client receives this affidavit, they can see the coordinates just right away from the affidavit itself so they can file that with the court. This is another thing that we can essentially offer to you. For the most part, if it's a field that we've been collecting within the job itself, within your accounts, or within your attempts, there's a good chance that I can add that to your affidavits, to your field sheets, whatever it may be. If it's stored data like that, I can probably add it. So you can see just right here, a good example is these GPS coordinates. All right, let's go ahead and close that, show you a few more examples here. Within the same attempt here, you might have not seen this. This was added, there are a few areas that really care about the county of service. So there's actually a section here that you can see under My Accounts and Settings. If you go to the very, very bottom here, under Addresses, there's a checkbox here to include an optional county field available on all addresses. If you enable this and save it, what it's going to do is whenever you create an address of any kind, so let's go to New Job, and let's scroll down to the service address under Addresses here. It has a county field now. So with this, I can go ahead and add the county of service. So if your particular area really wants to know the county that service took place, This is going to enable you to go ahead and store that on your attempts when you're filling in your job details. This way, so when it comes time to create your affidavit, you're going to be able to go ahead and generate a document and hopefully get that county filled in automatically for you. Let's go back to jobs and open the job that I've already got that service attempt on. And I'm going to click New Affidavit again. Using the drop-down up top, once again, I'm going to scroll back up top to my templates. And this last document I've got here, Texas Service, we do have Texas documents available in here. This is one of the areas that generally really wants to know that county where service took place. So if I select that document, there's a line right here, and was executed within the county of Denver. So this is an example of this field being available to you so that you can use it to populate information on your affidavit. Generally, previously, this isn't a field that we made available for a lot of our documents, but if this is a field that you would like to add to it, like I showed you, you can enable it in settings, and then if you talk to me, I could go ahead and add this to your documents. As long as you're noting what the county is when you enter that service address, the data will be available for you so that when it comes time to make a document such as your affidavit, it'll just fill in for you. You don't have to, exit out of the affidavit, go back into the attempt, and figure out what county that was in. All right, so let's show you a few things now a little bit more advanced perhaps. I've mentioned the custom docs, and earlier we also mentioned custom job fields. So let's go ahead and go into jobs here, and let's make a new job. I'm not going to go through the whole process. I just want to show you this interface here. So we should all be mostly familiar with this particular screen. Most of these fields, as you know, they're smart fields. So if I type out something like Denver Law, I believe I've got it. Yeah, I've got Denver Law Company there. It'll fill in for you. Usual info here, client info, job number, process server, court case, location, and then we get down to service instructions, recipient info, and so forth. The last few sections are generally documents to be served and miscellaneous attachments. If you've spoken to us, though, and you have some custom job fields, there's going to be a few additional fields for you down below. Here's a few examples for you. There's this recipient info. This is an idea of a custom field here. If you want this information to populate somewhere, such as on a field sheet, I've just got an example of a recipient phone number. If I were to enter a phone number here and modify your field sheet, you could go ahead and have this show up in its own special location. We'll talk about service type in a second. What I really want to show you, though, is this drop-down right here under Fields. So once you've got custom fields created, we can make sets, basically. So if there's a particular job type that you're looking to add information for, you're going to be able to pull it up from here. I'm going to go ahead and just start with photocopy or record retrieval. If I select this option here, you're going to see it asks for a lot more information. Now it wants me to fill in some case info, some additional attorney information, the subject of the records, more record information, and so forth. Basically a whole lot of fields that they're not smart, once again, so they're not going to save for you, they're not going to autofill, there's no logic behind them, but they're going to help you fill out a document. So in this particular example, if you're doing some sort of record retrieval, chances are you've got some sort of letter or form that you need to fill in for your client so that you can go ahead and get that to the court, get that to the hospital, whoever you're trying to retrieve records from, so you can get it to them and get those records for your client. Let's go back to jobs, and I'm going to open this last job on my list here. And in this particular job, I've already filled in those fields. So if I scroll down on the bottom right, past the miscellaneous attachment section and everything, all of those additional fields are visible to me here. So I've got that case info, some attorney info, recipient, facility, records, dates, the information I'm going to need to fill out a particular document. Scrolling back up to the top, I'm going to click New Affidavit again, but I'm not really going to be making an affidavit. I'm really making a document here. So if I click in the affidavit section and scroll up top, I've got a few things here. Let's show records request here. So as you can see, this is a very simple document. It's basically just a letter. I've got a logo added to the document here, but all of those fields are populated for me just based upon creating that new job. So I didn't have to type any of the additional information. If I do this type of work often, I can create this job type for you basically, so you can help fill in these documents that you might use on a pretty regular basis. And pretty much all of this information here is info that we normally just do not collect. So you can add those custom fields so that they can be present for you on documents such as this. All right, let's show you a few more examples going back to jobs and going to new job. I'm going to show you the selection again. This time I'm just going to choose opposing law firm. This is just another example for you. Normally we don't collect the opposing law firm information. If you want to have that present for you for whatever reason and you want it to appear on any documents, you can go ahead and add it into here. So law firm information, attorney, their address and so forth, whatever you want really. It's not going to be smart like we said, but this way you can fill it in on a document and it'll be available to you within the job should you need it. Going back into jobs, I believe the second job is one where I filled that in. Yep, it is. So if you look on the right here, there's this opposing law firm information. Scrolling back up top once again, I'm going to go to new affidavit. Using the drop down, the document I've got here is affidavit opposing party. It's going to be pretty much our nationwide document again, so this is our nationwide. If you don't use this on a pretty normal basis, it is one of our more popular documents just because it's used pretty much across the country for areas that might not have an official. All I've done here for this particular version of the document is I've added this section here represented by. So to be served upon John Reese, who's currently being represented by Smith & Anderson, specifically Elaine Anderson. So if I want to have any additional information like this on my affidavits like this or on my field sheets, that's the kind of thing that we can make work here. All right, let's go ahead and close this. Show you another field here. Let me give 1 second here just to get a drink of water. Okay, so let's open this top job again here. This is going to be another example for you on field sheets. This one has been requested before. If I scroll down to the right, you see there's this additional field here that says service type. Not all of our users, but occasionally we do have users that need their servers to get a particular service type done on a job. They don't want to do a substitute serve. They don't want to accept some sort of posting or mailing. Maybe it just has to be a personal serve. So if you want to make that abundantly clear to your server in the field, we could add something such as this. It's just a free-form field. So if I go back to jobs and go to new job, scroll down to the very bottom, you'll be able to see the section. It just says service type. I can type whatever I want in here. The idea for this particular field, at least how we're presenting it to you here, is you would just type whatever service that you need this job to be. So going back into jobs and opening that job, once again it says personal serve only. This is where I have it popping up. If I click field sheet, you already saw that I've got a signature line. You've probably already seen our rush watermarks, for example. We did have a few users kind of request to make it real clear to their servers, you know, if they can only do a personal serve, they want to make sure that their server absolutely sees that. So on this particular field sheet, I've replaced the watermark that would normally say rush essentially with personal serve only. This way it's very, very obvious to your server if they're using field sheets that they can only do a personal serve on this particular job. So this is just, well, once again, another example of that particular type of customization we can offer to you. All right, just a few more general ideas. I don't have examples for these particular ones, so I'm just going to talk about them a bit here. Some things we can do for you. We can't offer a number of font choices, but we have in the past had requests for serif fonts. We can make that possible for you now if you don't want an open sans like we use. If you want to use a serif font, that is the kind of thing that we can offer to you at this time. Some other examples of, you know, just some document types that I don't have created here. Some users like generating send-away packets that they might send to, you know, another server, see if they can get that job performed for them. Or even just a general cover letter if you like creating little packets that you can send to your client, you know, with a cover letter, the affidavit, an invoice. You can't group all those up, but you can at least use the program to help you create that kind of document. So if you have a cover template design in mind, you can get that to us. We can talk about what we might be able to do for you, and using information, you know, from within your account, within case info, the job info, your attempts, all of that. we can use that to help populate your cover letter essentially. In addition to being able to add things to documents, we can also take things away. So like we said, if you find that you do the same edits to a particular affidavit over and over again, maybe you just don't like particular wording somewhere, you can remove that. So, under new affidavit, let's just open up maybe, I don't know, New York here, the General New York Service Affidavit. If you don't like that it says, for example, defendant, respondent, maybe you want it to say just defendant or just respondent, and every time you make a document, you come in here, you use advanced edit, and you remove one of them. If that's the case for you, we can absolutely take that out for your template, so you don't have to do that anymore. It seems, once again, like it's just a little bit of time, but over time, that little time gets much larger, and you're going to save a good chunk of money on employment costs and just, your own time in general. Another example here, I should have stayed in new affidavit. Under, for example, the nationwide, which we're looking at right now, something that's set up as default is down below this company information. We've got this set to automatically pull from the assigned server's company. So if, for example, this was a contract server, instead of populating with the contract server's address and company information, if I always want it to be my own company information, we can adjust it so either maybe this pulls from your account info, or maybe you just want to hard code it to have a particular company name and address in there. Maybe you always want it to appear as your client, that type of thing. So once again, we can remove this. We can make changes to it. All right, let's go ahead and add an invoice here. We've got one already created, view invoice. So here's something you could probably see if you haven't already seen this. The changes we can make to invoices at this time, they are limited, but obviously there's a pretty big one for you down below. I've got our logo added, just ServeManager logo. This is something we can do for you as well. So if you want your logo to be present on your invoice, this is the kind of thing we can add for you. It'll appear in the same place you see it here. We would just basically need the best quality file you have available. Send that to us so we can go ahead and add it to your account. We'll try to get it, about the same size here for you. If for whatever reason it's a little too big or too small, we can talk about that when the time comes. All right, so there's another function I want to show you here. It's not going to be really related to custom fields and custom documents. It's just a feature we added recently that is in the same category. If you haven't already noticed it, from this screen here, there is a new option under options to print affidavits. Right now, this isn't going to do a whole lot for you. Let me create just a couple affidavits so you can see this. I'm just going to save this one, close it, go into this top job. I'm just going to make another affidavit. Let's just make this a federal document. Save that one. Close this. Now let's go ahead and go back to our jobs page here. So I can check off as many jobs as I want from the screen. I'm just going to select them all. And then I'm going to choose the options drop down here. Using this last option here for print affidavits, it's letting me know here I've selected 2 jobs that have affidavits, and there are 2 jobs that do not have an affidavit. Jobs without an affidavit, as it says, will be skipped. So in this case, I'm going to create one document with both of those affidavits within it. Let's generate that PDF. It's going to take just a moment here. We're on our Downloads tab now. So you can see here's this file right here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. All right, there we go. It doesn't look like a whole lot happened, but if I scroll down, there are both of my documents from those 2 jobs. So I've got just this one PDF here. The big uses for this are going to be maybe your client doesn't want you to mail them a bunch of pieces of paper. Maybe they just want one PDF that they can store on their hard drive for a time frame, or maybe they want the file so they can print the documents themselves in their office just with one action. In addition to that, you can do the same thing. So since I've got this one document here, I don't have to go through, multiple sets of affidavits and print each one individually. I just generate this one file, and I send one print action to my printer. So I'm going to save myself some time. I don't have to do so many print actions. I'm going to send a file to my client that they might want with all of their affidavits as one single file instead of individual files for them to save on their hard drive. So it's just a very quick and easy way for you to go ahead and generate multiple affidavits with one action. All right, so let's close that. So we've got another slide here for you. We're not quite done. As far as the custom jobs and documents, those are most of our examples right now. If you've come up with any ideas or you have any needs that you have on your end, by all means let us know. This is something we can discuss with you. We could look at some examples, figure out what we might be able to do to make your workflow a little bit more efficient, a little bit quicker. Just design it to suit your needs. Let's go ahead and pull this up here. On that subject, in order to get some sort of custom document or field, this is generally going to be best to go ahead, and if you have some sort of document you need, I would advise you to use Advanced Edit in the program. If it's just a few minor changes, go in there, make your minor changes, save that PDF, send it to us with some notes so we can look at it. We can look to implement it in your account. It's going to be best for us that way, just so we can see exactly what you need. Since it's more than just one of us involved on this end, having an email with those notes and an example is immensely powerful tool for us, because we can discuss it amongst ourselves. If I'm not going to be the one to do it, I can go to some of the development team here, and it's going to be very clear what you need. Same thing goes for a completely custom document. So if you've got a Word file or a PDF of some document that you just absolutely love, you like using all the time, send that to us. Same thing, help@servemanager.com. Give me some notes in your email. Explain to me exactly what it is you want. That's something we're going to have to discuss absolutely if it's a completely custom document. Depending upon the complexity of your needs for that document, there may be some sort of setup fee involved. I can't give you a real good example of how much that might cost without seeing the document. It's all done on a personal basis. It really just depends on how advanced your document is and how complex any sort of logic that's in it is going to need to be. All right, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and hand this back to Trent. He's going to go ahead and start our Q&A session. We'll go over any questions you guys had. Thank you.
Thanks, Jose. Yeah, if anyone else out there has questions related to custom docs or custom fields, please go ahead and drop that in the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel. I do see that a couple people along the way had used the raise your hand feature. That's more so used for unmuting people and allowing them to ask questions via audio, but it gets complicated with the audio side of things. So just go ahead and type your question into the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll wait for, I got a couple questions that have rolled through, so give me a second or so to read through some of those, and I will be back with you shortly. But if you have a question related to custom docs or custom fields, definitely shoot those over. But we're also in the kind of general Q&A session of the webinar, so if you have questions about anything related to ServeManager, feel free to drop those in as well. Question is it possible to add a custom field for employees where we can enter their date of birth and their specific address so it doesn't have to be entered? Right now, the only place that we can have custom fields show up is on the new job screen. I'm not sure that you would necessarily gain a lot from adding that to every single job. Down the road, we'll look at adding custom fields to some other data entry places, and that could include employees, that could include attempts, some other things. But if it's something that you feel is going to save you time, certainly give Jose a call or shoot him an email at help@ServeManager, and we could potentially look at that. I don't know if Jose, Nathan, Jeremy, you have any other comments in relation to that. But I think that's best applied when we're setting up an employee in the system. And as I said, right now we don't have custom fields anywhere but the job creation. Next question is, when do you expect these new custom fields to be searchable? Getting into some definitely areas beyond what we have right now with the custom stuff and the custom fields. I don't know if anyone has an answer to that, other than it's probably something that is on our list at this point. So I don't think we have any sort of date. I can tell you we're not actively working on that right now, right? Or,
correct, yeah.
Just going down the list here. Is there any plan for a share button on miscellaneous attachments? Guess I'll throw it out to maybe Jeremy. It's like you're kind of in between support and development. So this is probably, you probably have an idea of the frequency of the request there.
Yeah, I think attachments are one of those areas that need some attention, and we've definitely talked about it. And I can't promise what sort of changes are going to happen there, but that is definitely one of the things that we want to address is being able to share attachments and possibly tag or categorize them in a way that makes sense, so that you can know the difference between photos and affidavits and things like that. So the short answer is we will be making some changes there at some point.
I would like to make one comment, though. This is Nathan, one of the developers of ServeManager. With miscellaneous attachments, you can, in your settings, set it so that miscellaneous attachments are visible to all companies you collaborate with. You can't do it on an attachment by attachment basis, but you can do it globally, so collaborating companies would always see those uploads, if that's helpful for you.
Thanks, guys. Two questions basically related to font size on affidavits. Do we have possibilities there as far as making the font larger?
The font could definitely be larger on just about any one of the documents if that's what you need. I can tell you on some of the documents it's going to be a bit of an issue. An example being the California forms, a lot of them are pretty tight already. So increasing the font size is probably something we would advise against. But for most of the forms that have a lot of empty space, if you talk to me about that, Jose here, that's definitely something that we could talk to you about and increase for you. It's just when those forms get really tight that it starts to become an issue.
If you had any trouble hearing Jose, he's on the other side of the conference table, but basically the answer is yes. We can increase the font size. There might be some that we would advise against, but if you have a request for larger font sizes for a specific client, judge, whoever, we could either do that globally with your affidavit, or we could even maybe create one that has a larger font size that you could use for those specific jobs. Again, you have us for another 20 minutes or so, so if you have any questions or requests in relation to ServeManager, feel free to drop those into the question section of GoToWebinar. Again, everyone who's on the webinar today will be receiving an email tomorrow with the recording. If you want to go back and review this, it will be probably on the same blog post that we had sent out in the communication about the upcoming webinar. We'll just drop the video in there. A couple more questions I'll roll through here. Another question in relation to the font size. Can the font size on the field sheet be customized? That also applies to field sheet, right guys? Yeah, I'm getting 3 nods over here. So yes, field sheet and affidavits, we can increase the font size. I guess I'll just read this one, maybe Jeremy or one of you guys can look at this. Is it possible for the sharing of documents to show up under job activity? So it could have a date/time stamp and additional information like other data shows. I guess that would just be another element that we would show there in job activity.
No, that's a cool idea. Obviously, it doesn't work like that at the moment, and it's not something we could just turn on easily, but we'll definitely make a note about that. That's another one of those areas that we talk about occasionally and sort of brainstorm on ways that we can improve the activity area. So that's definitely good feedback that we'll keep in mind.
Okay. Still waiting for some more questions to roll through. If you have anything, feel free to shoot those our way. I guess while we have a couple minutes, I'll let everyone know that, you know, in addition to the webinars that we're doing for ServeManager on a weekly basis, which is just kind of a, you know, basic walkthrough of the software, and the Pro Series, which is kind of the more detailed stuff when, you know, bigger features are released. We also have a ServeNow EDU series of webinars, which covers a variety of topics, and that will cover technology, e-service, e-filing, marketing, general business management, a number of topics. So if you're interested in those kind of broader topics related to process serving and running a process serving business, we have some of the leaders in the industry that are supporting that EDU series, and you can go and register for those at servenow.com, and if you scroll down, you'll see a ServeNow EDU link, and the next webinar is going to be on electronic service of process on April 28th, and that will feature Jeff Karakin, Vice President at One Legal. So if any of those are interesting to you, check out that page and go ahead and get registered for those. I believe we've had 3 so far. This will be our 4th, and we have some other great ones coming up in addition to Jeff's on e-service on April 28th. A couple more questions. Let me just kind of parse through these. If we need fields added when creating a job, such as court date, time, etc., is there a charge for that? Likely there wouldn't be a charge for adding any fields. It really comes down to how much work would have to be on a document that would have these fields. So if it's the nationwide affidavit and you simply want a couple fields inserted in there, it's unlikely we would charge you for that. When we get into you know, multiple, you know, if we get into complete custom docs and, you know, hours of work and setting up these documents, that's when we would, you know, kind of take a look and estimate how long it would take us to kind of pull this off. Likely there would be a minimum charge of, you know, say a few $100s or so, and then based on any additional work, we would give you an hourly rate. Definitely competitive when you're talking about some of the setup that other tools on the market will charge for custom doc setup, which, you know, usually starts in the thousands of dollars. So we would certainly let you know what the price would be before moving forward and you know, sending you a bill for that, and just really getting a good understanding of what it is that you need. You know, we don't want to charge you for anything that's unnecessary, and you know, we want to make sure that it's, you know, completely needed for your account before you know, we would charge anything there. Next question is there a way to email multiple declarations to the process servers without going to your email, like it does when you assign a new job to a server? Anyone have a...
No, it's not going to do that. What it kind of sounds like you're looking for And forgive me if I'm incorrect, it kind of sounds like you want to generate basically a bunch of proofs of service and then send those to the server so that they can go ahead and print them out and sign them. There's no functionality to email all of those proofs at once right now, but like I showed you how you can create one file, one PDF with all the proofs, that'd be a good case use of, generating all those proofs within one document, sending them to your server so that they can print everything at once and sign them for you. So yeah, you can't email it within the program, but it is much easier to email those to your server now with the mass print affidavit function.
I think we'll stay on for a couple more minutes here and wait for some more questions to come through. I'll go ahead and just wrap it up and say, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your attention and attending the webinar. And if you have any needs in relation to custom fields, custom documents, definitely contact us, or any questions at all in regards to the software. We're here for you, and we certainly love hearing the comments, the questions, the feedback on the application. We're constantly developing ServeManager, trying to make it better, trying to support broader needs in your day-to-day as a legal support company. This is a product that really in its current state is only a few years old, and we are just very excited to see the usage and the volume that's coming through the software right now. Not sure if it relates to anyone that's out there, but we released an API about 6 months ago that would allow for connectivity between other applications. As an example, if you have a client who has a case management software that they would be interested in kind of auto-creating jobs based on their service to process needs in your ServeManager account, things like that can be done. So if you can think it, we want to hear about it and have those conversations with you and continue to make the software stronger and grow our user base. So don't see any other questions that have rolled through. So again, thank you everyone. If you are interested in setting up custom docs or custom fields, give us a call or shoot us an email at help@servemanager.com. And we hope to hear from all of you very soon. Thank you.